Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. Today being Thursday, the 29th of November. There's just one more day to go and we're out of November, out of the hurricane season. And we can have a lot of thanks and praises for the fact that the good Lord and nature has spared us what could have happened during the time just past. Today would normally be the opposition Thursday, as it is usually scheduled here on Radio Cayman, but I have been in touch with the various members of the Legislative Assembly who form part of the opposition, one being off the island, but each of them had some prior engagement. But as they say in Hollywood, the show has to go on, and indeed the show is going on. You can reach us here at Talk Today by calling 1-800-534-8255, and that is the compliments of Flo. It won't cost you, so give us a call if you so choose, if there's something on your mind. In the place of the opposition, I have someone in the studio with me well known to the Cayman public and somebody who has been expending great effort in a number of areas, such as the fuel, talking about the fuel and the lack thereof, the cost thereof, and so on, and also the port project referendum, and I speak of no other than Mr. Mario Rankin. And at this time I would like to say good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today one more time.
Good afternoon to your listening public, and good afternoon to you, Gilbert. And I just want to extend my gratitude to Radio Cayman for allowing me to come on many occasions to continue the dialogue on many pressing issues in the Cayman.
Quite so. And that is what Radio Cayman has always been about, getting out information to the public and giving people the opportunity to do it. And, you know, I was remarking to someone here in the studio earlier that in the days when Roy Bodden and myself were MLAs, you know, it was so great to get an invitation for a little 5-minute spot on the television. It was a juggling of we always wanted to get on last, because if we had opposing view that was coming on, they would be the last to take a shot at us. But it was something that we looked forward to be able to get an opportunity to be on TV and to speak, and the radio similarly.
Right.
But now it's wide open, and I truly cannot understand the attitude of the majority of the elected representatives. They don't want to take the free airtime to talk to their constituents and to talk about the things that they're doing. I mean, what better way could it actually happen?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what I could say to that, Mr. McClean, is that it's obvious that there are a lot of fundamental issues that is a grave concern to the Caymanian public at large. So, therefore, the guardians of our gates, being the politicians, are a little bit weary of coming on and be put on the hot seat to be asked the very hard questions as to why certain things are not being done the way they should be done in order to create a sustainable environment for all Caymanians. So, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of the the cabinet members don't come to the studio as often as possible, simply because those are the things that will come up. And when they do come, they have their already written out agenda as to what they want to talk about, and they stick to those guidelines.
Yeah, and you know, limiting things in that fashion, to me, it doesn't.
It's not beneficial.
No, and of course, let the public call, let them talk, let them raise questions and so on. If you don't have the answer right then, you can get the answer for them. You know?
I just find it very hypocritical that you are willing to go to each one of those areas during the election time to have a meeting and answer any question those individuals who are in line to either elect you or listen to what you have to say to convince them to elect you. It's funny how you are eager for their participation in that arena, yet when it's time to be held accountable for lack of action or for certain actions that has created issues, then they turn the blind eye and try to avoid the public at all expense.
It is true. And, you know, speaking of that, and it's an issue that I know you have taken up in a major way, and I've seen persons, various members of the community at different locations seeking signatures for the petition to allow a referendum to be taken here on the issue of the port. And, you know, speaking again of information on a particular subject and so on, which this is a major one, because we all know that it's going to go in the hundreds of millions to be able to build a port. And there's a couple of things that I've noticed about it. And I was at the meeting on the 26th of September, I think it was. And it's as if there's a reluctance to say who are the three, and who were eliminated. Now that seems to be the most natural thing in the world.
Right.
It was A, J, and D who were chosen. What they bid and so on didn't have to be disclosed and so forth. But I truly wonder what is the reticence? What is the situation that causes that type of thing to happen? Well,
here's what's even more interesting about that, Mr. Gilbert, is that prior to the 2018 procurement law, prior to that law coming into effect on May the 1st this year, that information was privy to the general populace. We could have asked the question and the government would have complied and told us who those individuals were. Now, one would have to ask the question, why would they implement such a law at this point, at this juncture, when it surrounds this particular project, so that they could say, oh, well, under the new public procurement law, we're not allowed to reveal who those individuals are because it would compromise the ongoing negotiations. Now, you
mean the law prohibits that as such? Or?
Right. They have a new procurement law that has been gazetted last year, put into effect May the 1st this year. That's the interesting thing. So why I say that is because prior to that, we've had other capital projects that were engaged at which the public asked questions and got certain answers because obviously that law wasn't in effect that prohibited anybody from getting that information. And the second thing is that with this particular petition, what's really eye-opening for me is that I could dispel the notion that Caymanians are crab in the bucket mentality. We do have some individuals who think like that, but with this particular petition, it has revealed to me that there are a diverse cross-section of individuals within our society who are willing to fight for what's right, and that's what this petition has done. And if we don't get anything more than the realization that we can work together from a diverse variety of individuals within our society, we've gotten over that hump as to dispel the idea that Caymanians can't work together. Now, don't get me wrong, the creators of issues in our country has done such a great job of creating issues that we go and we fight amongst ourselves. Because what the first thing happens, Mr. McClean, is that when there's a fundamental issue that affects Caymanians, we gather, we talk about it, and then what we do is we share our own ideas, and then conflict mounts amongst ourselves. And while we're conflicting amongst ourselves, the people who created the issue are moving right along, getting what they need done, and then before you know it, it's all done, and we're left holding the bag. So, and I've noticed that. I've seen that happen and materialize in a certain fight that I'm dealing with right now. currently, which is fresh. And I'll speak more about that a little later on in the show, because I think it's important that when we have issues within our society that affect a large majority of us, we have to talk about it. We have to have dialogue. We have to bring it to the forefront. We have to create awareness and have an educational process in order for people to understand what it is we're up against and the environment that we have to live in, based on the consequences of lack of action or poor action. Mm-hmm. So when we look at the port, it's a matter of national importance, and it would be remiss of me, and it should be remiss of anybody else, to allow a project of this magnitude, which will set out to fundamentally affect a lot of aspects of our society, things in which we can't ever reverse. So then why is it that it's hard for the government to accept that there is a large cross-section of people in this country that cares about the outcome of any capital project and have expressed their concerns and is willing to go out and, like you said, be at various locations to gather signatures in a legitimate fashion, which are all registered voters, to trigger a referendum which is allowed to us through the Constitution, which ironically had been pushed down our throats in 2009 by this same administration, and then all of a sudden now it's an issue. So they must have sat around a table, Mr. Gilbert, and said, okay, here is the constitutional reform from 1972. Here are all the things that we want to put in it to advance it, right? So the minute that the people decides that they want to exercise one of those things that they advanced the Constitution to be today, all of a sudden they spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight the very people that is engaging in a very section of the Constitution that they thought was important to the people. I think it's the biggest hypocritical thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
Well, I have seen in the media that it has been found that up to $5,000 a month is being paid to an entity to, in effect, advise to counter the movement towards the group and people who want to have a referendum. And again, I haven't heard where the opposition, for example, because I think the opposition, as I gather, is more inclined to see the referendum because it is the right of the people to be able to vote on the issue. But I haven't seen as such a statement demanding as such, not that they can stop the government, but demanding that they stop spending money as they have. But it's been all over the newspapers and so on about what has been happening in that particular regard. And quite a slice of money has been spent so far.
Right, and two things. One thing to your first point about the $5,000 a month. What's really shocking to me is that in 2018, when we have access to social media just by the press of a button of a phone, it's ironic that the press release by the ministry, by Mr. Strandbottom, stated in second paragraph that the reason for hiring outside help for that ministry is because they had one individual who was handling all of their PR within that ministry. And I thought it was pretty concerning that in this day and age, where the government has such a hefty portfolio and appropriated funds for that particular ministry, that they would only have one person dealing with that situation, when very well there's individuals who are capable within the ministry that could be doing exactly what they're paying an independent company $5,000 a month to do. That's one thing. Second thing is that when we talk about the government and how they allocate funds and the fights that they choose, what is alarming about this is that if this project had all of the credits and merits in which they say it has, then what's the hesitation with putting out information to the public? Because certainly, if I'm renting you an apartment and I'm telling you I want $1,400 a month, and you agree to pay that, but on the terms and condition that you get to see it, then why should I say, oh well, you can't see it till you pay me? I should have enough confidence in my apartment to say it's worth the $1,400 that we agreed on. So I just find it ironic that we have to be fighting these fights when we shouldn't have to. It's very simple, actually. Either you have enough confidence in this project to disclose the information to the public so that they too can have the same confidence that you have, or you have some belief that maybe the public may figure this out, or maybe it's something that it might not be in the best interest of them, and you don't want that resistance. So it kind of backfired, and to say the least, because this petition is something the government can't stop. That's number one, and number two, they can't ignore, because under the Constitution they have to abide.
We have to take a quick break here now. I understand there's one caller on the line, but we have to take a break at this time, and if that caller will hold, they will be the first act when we get back. You're listening to Talk Today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I need a bank that is convenient for me.
What do you mean?
I need a bank that has easy-to-find locations and plenty ATMs when I need cash on the go.
Oh, well, that's easy. You need to bank with Cayman National. They have 7 customer service centers and 23 ATM locations. The newest one is at the East End Post Office, and I hear there's more to come.
Well, sounds like I need to bank with Cayman National Bank, the convenient bank, because they seem to be everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Cayman National is everywhere. Surely they are Cayman's convenient bank.
Cayman National Bank. We're here for you.
Hopscotch Entertainment presents tribute to 2 of the island's greatest bands, Memory of Justice and Humble and the Meek, featuring special guest Freddie Jackson. Alongside special guest Naomi Cohen. This December 7th, 8 p.m. sharp at the Lion Center. Admission is free. Admission is totally free. Featuring special guests Rex and Impulse Band, Lammy Seymour, Edward Solomon, Regeneration Band, Molly and Brian, Gerald Rankin, Dexter Bodden, and Fire Squad. Donations are accepted. Sponsored by the Ministry of Culture, Miracle Brokers, Digicel, Radio Cayman, The Lobster Pot, JN Money Transfer, and the Cayman Islands Music Association. Freddie Jackson, live in concert, Friday, December 7th at the Lion Center.
You are my lady.
Business owners and marketing managers, did you know that during the holidays, 1 in every 3 persons in Cayman search findyellow.com? Get more visibility for your business with Yellow's special Christmas advertising package. Contact our advertising consultants at 949-7027 or visit findyellow.com to find out more. Yellow, we know Cayman.
Treat your home this year with a Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor with up to 20% off select porcelain and ceramic tiles, 15% off commercial and residential carpets, and tint specials with tiles as low as $10 per box and mosaics only $5. The Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor this Friday 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. only. Cash or credit card payments only. All sales are final. Edie's Decor, located on 64 Eastern Avenue, or you can call them at 949-6348.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. I am your host, Gilbert McClean, sitting in for Sterling Ebanks, and we're having a discussion here with Mr. Mario Rankin, but we do have a caller on the line, so let's take that call as we go forward. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gilbert, and good afternoon to Mario. It's Johan Malmström. How's it going, Jen?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Thanks for calling.
I remember, Mr. Gilbert, I just want to say I've been listening to you as the pilot of the show for the past week now. I think you're doing an incredible job.
Well, thank you.
Sterling should go on vacation a little bit longer, maybe.
You'll soon be back, I'm pretty sure.
No, your voice and your perspectives are appreciated.
Thank you.
You've been in the administrative side of government. You've sat in cabinet. There's very little about the game of politics or politricks that is being played currently in Cayman that you haven't seen or are well aware of. So it's always great to hear learned individuals like yourself engage in the process. You know, for everything that you've done when you were a minister and a representative of people, it's thank you, and you continue to represent and raise concerns for us citizens of this country in your latter stages, where you're now the savvy veteran who leads pups like Mario and other radicals who ask all the right questions and upset those in the stratosphere of power. But I say all of that to say this. You guys were talking about the advertisements and the fact that government could spend money on campaigning against citizens using their democratic and constitutionally protected rights enshrined in Section 70 of the 2009 Cayman Islands Constitution. What I find most discouraging is if the government are going to use public funds, government funds, and be a part of a campaign, the least they could do is be genuine and speak the truth instead of misrepresenting the facts to skew the situation and to effectively influence or support their narrative on what they would like to see. Their ads are not factual. Their ads are misrepresentations of basic facts, and it doesn't matter how many times you play those ads or how many different voices you use. At the end of the day, the facts are the facts. There are not 4,500 people impacted or working in the cruise tourism industry. That is a fact. There is no $200 million worth of revenue that is derived from cruise tourism. That is a fact. If it was, it would have been stated in the Brer report. It would have been stated in the outline business case prepared by PwC. This, again, is your elected government choosing to confuse issues and effectively try to influence the mindset of the masses who they deem to be their sheep by filling their heads up with the same lie, nonsense, and misrepresentation. If the government had dealt with this matter in a clear, transparent, concise, respectful way, there would be no Johan Moxham, Mario Rankin, or the 1,000 other people who have signed the petition, who are concerned about where the direction of that project is headed at all. But their arrogance, their narcissism, and their basic lack of respect for citizens of this country, whereby they can tell you a project is going to cost $200 million. They can tell you in one breath the project is going to cost $200 million, but they can then say, but we don't have any plans or finalized plans to know what the project will cost. So how in the world can you come up with any figure at all when you don't have a concrete plan? That means you're lying about something. That proposed cruise berthing project will become the white elephant that will tip the Cayman Islands over the financial cliff. That project is the best and most recent representation of government-sponsored corporate welfare, whereby this government, consisting of the PPM and the CDP, are bought and paid for and controlled by certain financiers in the private sector. This is why they're doing it. That is the primary reason, because when you look at the momentum and the thousands of people, the vocal ones, because remember we were just the vocal minority, well, now we have over 4,000 signatures of citizens, and we are nearing our target of 5,288, where that will represent 25% of the electorate that will then cause the people-initiated referendum under Section 70 of the Constitution. So the government needs to wake up and understand, but more importantly, all of those new elected politicians who ran, campaigned, and got elected on the we are going to change the way Cayman operates, we are going to be listening to the masses, and we're going to represent your views. Any politician who supports this project, which will be the largest, most complex, most expensive capital works project in the history of the Cayman Islands, they deserve to be voted out of office, because they are accelerating the decline, the demise of Cayman from a financial perspective, from an environmental perspective, and from a social economic perspective. The government have a campaign running where they say thousands of jobs will be created, yet the government can't tell you 5 types of jobs that are going to be created. They can't tell you the qualifications that you need to get those jobs. They can't tell you what the training program will look like. Yet they're spending your money to tell you that what they're going to give you, which they can't show you because they can't tell you how much it's going to really cost, is really about. And that is why it's called politics, and that's why this government are struggling. To make matters worse, they can't deliver on an airport project that is now over 35% in cost overruns when they had a budget of $55 million. They've now gone and spent money, and God knows how many millions or hundreds of millions they've spent on these new jets, but they can't tell you what that is either. This government operates in the darkness. They are the masters of negotiations behind closed doors and looking out and protecting certain people. Everything this government said McKeever Bush was, they have become. Every single one of them. Those that remain silent are complicit. Those that pretend not to know, they don't want to know. Yet they take home a great salary, great benefits every month with no conscience and no real intention of representing us, the voters, the citizens of the Cayman Islands, and the people that will ultimately be left with picking up the tab for their flights of fancy. A country of this size with an economic model that is unsustainable can't buy and build everything. There has to be a master plan, and we can't even be bothered to do that. But we can spend money on fooling the people, telling them lies, misrepresenting the truth, and trying to hoodwink them into thinking that this one project, which will easily cost north of 350 million CI dollars, is going to be the panacea. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to wake up. We have to hold them accountable, and I'm glad that you have people like Mr. Gilbert and Mario who come on the radio, ask the questions, stimulate debate, but more importantly, show you the folly and the fable that this government are selling us. Because I care, because I don't want to live in a third world, fourth world Cayman, and what they are creating is exactly that. Because that is the best.
I think we all need to be concerned about it, to say the very least. I understand from our man at the board that we have another call, so you have any thoughts? Do a wrap up for me.
No. I've said a lot, but I needed to get a lot out there because there's a whole lot that's going on in this country, and every Caymanian, new Caymanian, old Caymanian, needs to wake up and understand you are being sold down the river, and you will be the ones paying the price for them because they're only looking out for the top 2% and those that finance them and their political campaigns. That's the be-all and end-all of it for today. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you for your call. And we have another caller, it seems. So let's take that call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, caller, you're on the air.
You mean somebody dropped out then? Good afternoon, Mr. Gilbert.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, Mr. Mario.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And you recognize his voice, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It kind of had a little bit of food left in it, but it cleared up now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God I can get food, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, what's on your mind?
Oh, listen, I was going to get on before Mr. McClean came on, but like I said, I had to look a little bit of food first.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, I'm good now. But some of what he said, I'm going to repeat, right? But I'm going to tell you my experience that I had on Tuesday, right there by the museum, or National Museum.
Yes.
I was out there. I went there to take in some of my sabotage crafts to be sold there.
Okay.
When I get there, the director was not in at that time, so I went and sat on the bench on the outside. And I was taking in a view that I thought that I was somewhere foreign.
The numbers.
Not only that, I counted 6 big, 4 big ships, and I counted 6 tenders. And as they could fill and empty, they were going back and forth. And the dancing policeman, no. I said to him, how many it is? If he wasn't dancing, then he would direct in traffic on the one way there. Mm-hmm. I said, you haven't dancing today? He said, not yet. So I asked him, I said, how many came on that? Almost 14,000. Hello?
Yes.
It was beautiful. But any more than that, it's going to be overcrowded right there in town.
Well, you know, caller, I got to go to a break in a few seconds, but perhaps you were there that same day as I was. There were, on that day, it was 6 ships in. And honestly, I mean, there were so many people in Georgetown from right by the dock going all the way down to Kirk Supermarket. It was really incredible. It was just too many people for everybody to be comfortable. They were walking, they were in cars, they were everywhere. And that is one of the things I think that needs to be seriously taken into account when a study for this undertaking goes about, and supposedly it's being done, but you and I see it in reality, as you have said, and I saw it myself a few days back.
Yes. Okay. Now I have a little bit more to say that I experienced. While sitting there, I see this husband and wife who was walking, but they came across and they were going into the museum, right? At least the wife was going in. Mm-hmm. And she stopped by me, and and I spoke to her first, and she spoke, and all this. It was the first time here. Yes. And I said, "Did you take a photo of the banner there with all the Cayman areas?" No, but she said they intended to. Mm-hmm. But the first one was on the outside now, but then he had his camera,
Yes.
So she stopped. She didn't want to go inside again after me. Her start talking. And then we talked and talked. I gave her my name. She gave me hers, and she's Marie, and the husband is Bob. And she got 2 sons away now. One is Randy and one is Ansel. Okay. And the father is a teacher in Boyne. Okay. You listening?
Yes.
His father is the teacher.
Wind up quickly for me, or maybe you might want to hold, and we'll come back to you because I do have to go to a break now. Would you like to do that?
I'll hold.
Okay, thank you. You're listening to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. We'll be right back after this short commercial.
I didn't mean to hurt her. Work was tough. We're struggling financially. I had a few drinks to relax, but then the argument started. It was a mistake to hit her. Now I don't have a job. I don't have a wife. I can't afford to feed my family. This was a hard lesson to learn. Never forget that walking away from something unhealthy is brave. Stop to slap. Stop to cycle. Stop the violence.
The Stop the Slap campaign, proudly sponsored by Foster's IGA. Stop the slap. Stop the cycle. Stop the violence.
Who's the leader in savings?
It's Foster's. When it comes to cooking for Christmas parties and baking sweet treats for the kids, there are some people who just get it and some people who just get lost. For those who get lost, let Tanya's Kitchen and Foster's IGA help. Tanya's deliciously easy recipes will wow your guests and leave you as famous as that one reindeer. Visit tanyaskitchen.ky for tons of delicious Christmas recipes and treats. And stop by your local Foster's IGA for all of the ingredients.
At Foster's Food Fair IGA, we care.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday, come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
Oh, this Christmas, Kirk Freeport is wishing everyone peace, love, joy, and $40,000 in prizes. Win one of the multiple $5,000 and $1,000 cash prizes just for shopping at your favorite Kirk Freeport store. Purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. There's even a Rolex watch prize draw on January 2nd, and loads of other great prizes. Peace, love, joy, and the island's biggest Christmas sweepstakes. Only from Kirk Freeport. Full details on kirkfreeport.com. Merry Christmas from Kirk Freeport.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman, where we have been having a lively discussion, and we have a caller who said that they would hold, and let's go back to that caller now. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air again.
Good afternoon again.
Yes, good afternoon.
I ended then by saying that the husband and also a father then, but their son is still at home, and the father is a teacher for the boys, right?
Okay.
But their sons work there in the Boeing. They help to build these jets.
Okay.
So I said, when I first started, I gave the lady, Miss Marie, one of my ornaments, or the Christmas ornament, a bell.
That's nice.
It was, and she was saying, I said, I want to give you this. She said, no. I said, yes. This is what you call the real Cayman kind.
True enough.
First Cayman kind. This is the first Cayman kind that she did get. So then after we had the photo of the two us taken with the banner, I gave her, I wrote out my address and all this for her.
Uh-huh.
And she's going to be sending back a photo of me and her by the banner.
Okay.
And then she's going to be sending me photos again of the group of them.
Okay.
And she said, we're going to come back to be stayovers. All of them. So,
okay.
So Mr. McClean and Mario, that made my day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I stayed there until I heard the first ship blow their horn to leave. Okay?
Okay.
I go home very dark.
And we can pretty much expect that those folks will come back by air and stay for a while here in Cayman then.
And then looking now, yesterday I met two I don't know whether they were husband and wife or whatever, but the man, I sat by the wife. I'm going to say by the woman. He was in the front. Both of them were in the front. He was the boss. So the gentleman see me with the walk, and he said, "Would you like the front?" I said, "Yes, thank you very much." So I sat by the woman then, right? And I started talking to them now, and then all this, and she said, after she will hear if this is the first time here. Her first time, but it's his fourth time.
Okay.
Are you all on the cruise? No, they're living in a hotel.
Yes.
I'm not going to say where, and they're leaving tomorrow.
Okay.
But they will be back. So
Indeed.
I've been having some very good days first, and people have been asking me when I get onto the radio much more. I said, because I have things to do and places to go.
Right. Well, I thank you for your call this evening, and
yes.
and certainly bringing us up to date of what has happened with you here in recent times. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. I understand there's another caller. So, caller, please go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I don't know who's your guest speaking about the dog.
How could you mistake this voice?
My guest is Mr. Mario Rankin.
Mr. Mario, how are you doing?
I'm good, sir. And you?
Fine. You see, me and Mario will agree about one thing, that I am with the petition to the people of this country decide what they want to do. I think that is the most democratic and right thing in this country, because I see both sides is pushing. Everyone supports the board, trying, they spending the government money to promote this idea of building a port in Georgetown. I don't see, it's logic to build a port in Georgetown. From the views I hear from a lot of experienced Caymanian seamen, I support building the port in Red Bay or in Spot, anywhere else, but not in Georgetown. And of course, we have to look at the environment damage could happen, and we have to be careful how this port being built. The other issue here is I want to ask, those questions.
Mm-hmm.
If Mr. Kirkconnell, the Minister Kirkconnell, he's a member of government, and in the same time who advocating and paying money to support building the port in Georgetown is a Kirkconnell too. I think this is a very dangerous thing to be in a conflict of interest as a minister all over the world. This is considered a crime.
Yes, caller, let's. I understand what you are saying. I think I get the drift of what you're saying, but let's not get into any name calling. Just make your point as to what you see or believe with regards to the port.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the other thing is the whole issue of look at Georgetown. They are saying they want to develop the roads, they want to change Georgetown, nothing changed. And, you have the dump problem, they never solved. They have the cost of living, they never solved. Those promises they give in the election time. Mm-hmm. And the unemployment, they never solved. But now they're saying, the board's going to create employment. How in the world this board will create employment when most of the people who control the businesses is not employing Caymanian. Even the people want to build the port in Georgetown. If you go to their shop, I'm not speaking about one particular businessman. I'm speaking about different businessmen who support this port to be built, in particular in Georgetown. If you go to their business places, 99% is non-Caymanians, workers. 99%, and they are good to order those foreigner workers to vote in a poll put by a radio station to support their views. They are slaving people's minds who is non-Caymanians, ordering them to vote.
Caller, I think I get the point that you're making, and indeed there are many, many persons here who are in jobs that I'm sure Caymanians could hold, but I'm going to ask you to leave us there because very shortly I have to go to a break. Thanks for your call. I do appreciate it. Going back to and let's talk in broader terms. We got to go to a break very soon. But in broader terms and the overall perspective, there are different aspects that Mario obviously have to be taken into consideration. One of them is congestion.
Right.
This is my view on it. Congestion. One is transportation, to move people.
Right.
The environment, which you have certainly talked about many occasions and others have talked about. It is a really wide spectrum of things that have to be taken into account, and something has to be done with the sports dock. When I had the opportunity that I was in cabinet, that was one of the main things I hoped to have seen addressed then, because what is happening with the folks there now coming off and standing in the sun, it's just. it's just a sad state of affairs.
It is, and quickly before the break, I just want to say, I keep hearing a lot of conversations about not wanting to build it in Georgetown, let's build it at Red Bay and various other locations. The reality is, Mr. McClean, is that we are struggling now from an infrastructure standpoint to accommodate the 1.6 to 1.8 million that we currently get coming to our shores on an annual basis. So for the life of me, I don't understand why we keep talking about building a port facility, period, for cruise berthing when it's not warranted, and we should be increasing that 20% stayover to 50% so that we can generate way more revenue than we currently do right now without any major infrastructure upgrades.
Seriously. We have to stop and take a break and go to the 1 o'clock news. You're listening to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman. We will be right back after the news. Please stay tuned.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
An 80-year-old man is dead after a snorkeling trip in the North Sound. Shortly after 12 p.m. on Wednesday, 911 Communications Center got a report of a person in distress in the waters of the North Sound. A man had been out on a snorkeling trip when he lost consciousness after entering the water. He was assisted back aboard the vessel he had been on, and CPR was performed as the vessel returned to shore. The man was then transported by EMS to the Cayman Islands Hospital and subsequently pronounced dead. The man was a visitor from the United States. Good afternoon. I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, U.S. President Donald Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen has pleaded guilty to lying to Congress in relation to the Russia inquiry. Mr. Cohen admitted misleading lawmakers about talks over a Trump property deal in Moscow during the presidential race. Mr. Trump said his former right-hand man was lying to seek a reduced sentence. There has been outrage in India after the management of a shopping center in the eastern city of Kolkata told a mom wanting to breastfeed her baby not to do such home chores in the center. The comments were made on Facebook after the woman wrote a post on South City Mall's page complaining that there was no designated feeding area. The response angered many who said it amounted to shaming the new mother. And water-scarce Grenadians will soon get some relief through a Green Climate Fund-approved project to be launched next year that will make Grenada's water sector more resilient to the impacts of climate change. Currently, several households in the 134-square-mile island of Grenada in the Eastern Caribbean find themselves unable to pursue activities at their leisure because of water constraints. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
The CMEA, in association with Marmee, are proud to present the Sounds of Love annual benefit concert this Saturday, December 1st, from 4 p.m. until 12 a.m. at the West Bay Heritage Park. Funds raised will benefit Stan O. Ebanks, and Miss Thelma Grant, the widow of the late Errol Skanky Grant. See live performances by Wild Knights, Dexter Bodden, Lionfish, Backbeat, Footloose, Regeneration, and more, all for only a $5 donation. The Sounds of Love benefit concert this Saturday, December 1st, at the West Bay Heritage Park.
Rewind to the 70s, 80s, and 90s as Breezy Productions presents Footloose, a throwback party. Friday, November 30th at 47 Ashcroft Street, Pinnacle Warehouse. Taking you back in time, musically Super C, DJ Preston, international DJs Smoke and DJ Marvin from Red Nassau. Admission 20 pre-sale, 25 at the gate. VIP tickets $75, inclusive of food and drink and top shelf liquor. Ticket outlets, Funky Tanks, Express Window Tinted, and Event Pro. It's Footloose, a throwback party, sponsored by Appleton, Hennessy, Express Window Tinted, Execution Sound, Best Dressed Chicken, Bar Metrics, Rush Energy Drink, and Kingsley Construction. Drink responsibly.
Give me the green light.
Proud of Them Youth Recognition Program is accepting nominations. Now in its 10th round, the award recognizes 12 outstanding young people between the ages of 10 and 25 for their achievements in academics, careers, business, sports, culture, or community work. Nominate your choice for the prestigious Proud of Them Award by visiting www.gov.ky. Submissions must be received by Friday, December 7th. This message was brought to you by the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, Agriculture and Lands in partnership with the National Youth Commission.
Treat your home this year with a Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor with up to 20% off select porcelain and ceramic tiles, 15% off commercial and residential carpets, and tint specials with tiles as low as $10 per box and mosaics only $5. The Christmas chair sale at Edie's Decor this Friday 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. only. Cash or credit card payments only. All sales are final. Edie's Decor, located on 64 Eastern Avenue, or you can call them at 949-6348.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 62000, offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today here on Radio Cayman, where I'm your host, Gilbert McClean, sitting in for Sterling Ebanks. I understand from our man at the board that we do have a caller online, so Mario, we can take that call.
Yep.
and then we move on with the discussion. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Mario, how are you?
Pretty good, thanks.
Good. I'm tired of smelling baby iguanas. Really and truly. But anyhow, guys, have you all ever been to countryside and everybody wants to move on time? You don't know if you have the right of way, but someone is always shooting across you. You ever gotten up with the countryside? Everybody want to be going forward. Nobody wants to stop. Well, yesterday I read in there, and I had the right of way because I was coming from A.L. Thompson area. And I was coming from up the direction by the animal house, right? So I thought I had it right away, and I was going to make the second right turn into the parking lot. So I goes into the parking lot now, and I park up, and the same man that was trying to get ahead of me came and parked a couple parks down from me, because I parked in a handicap, the blue spot, which I don't think everybody really enjoys parking the blue spot, because then the first thing they say, well, oh, something's wrong with her, and yakety yak. It's kind of a little bit embarrassing parking there, but I have a reason why I have to park there. It's not for no fun. You understand? So I park in the parking spot, and he comes up and looking at my car and stuffing my IDs on top of my dashboard. And do you know you're not supposed to park here? I said, excuse me, and who are you? What concern is it to you? It is a concern to me. I said, really? I said, you see my ID on the dashboard? You're just plain simple lazy. And why didn't you park further down? Boy, and Mario, he called me a lazy Cayman. Lazy. He said, you lazy. And Mario, you know, my butt wouldn't belong to me at that moment. And the more I try to avoid him, the more he keeps backing up and running his mouth with me. And to call Kim, and he was an expert, calling Caymanian a Caymanian lazy. Man, I tell you.
We got a lot of that for sure. You know, it's something which we come up against all too often, and it's repeated against us, and that's not true. There's some who might be termed that, but they're sure not in the majority. Caymanians are hardworking people and have ever been, and we've had success from being people who are hardworking. So that's not a label that we should easily wear.
Yeah. Mr. Gilbert, you know, he just keep running his mouth, and I can't say what I say to him on the radio. And we all went to the grocery store, and you know, that person could not pick out what they went to that store for the hand and walk out. I say, I got you, sucker. You know? But anyhow, another thing, Mario, keep up the good work. I need to know the figures. When you guys tell me the figures in my ear.
We're gonna make a big announcement in a few weeks, and then we'll take it from there, and hopefully we'll trigger and have the election office verify, and from that point, then we kick the referendum in gear, and then we start the campaign as to what we should and shouldn't have.
Another thing, the radio station said yesterday we got over 36,000 licensed cars on the road. Let me tell you something. We have to have more than that because out there is a jungle, a lot of crazy driving going on, a lot of road rage is going on out here, and the police officers, they're driving up and down. Yes, but their windows are up. I don't know what they're seeing and what they're doing. No disrespect to them, but the facts remain. People are just out of control on the road and doing their own thing, and they got all these cameras all over the road, and they can't hear nobody picked up by a camera for bad driving, or, you know what I mean? But the police have to see them themselves. I mean, out here, it's crazy. Christmas is coming, and it's going to even get crazier.
Yes, I totally agree. We got to be careful with that. Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We need to move on to the next caller. Thanks very much for your call. Appreciate it. Thank you. I just understood from the man at the board that we don't have a caller there now. But anyway, we were saying, Mario, to discuss the whole thing about the port and what the wider implications of it. There's various things that got to be taken into account. I don't know if information has come out in these various with the congestion, with the transportation and all of that. Are you aware? I know you've been closer to it than I have, for sure. But
I just want to say this, and obviously I think there is a lot to be said, and it could take more than one segment on the show in order to say it and have open dialogue about it. But the reality is this. Here's the port in a nutshell. One, we have 1.6 to 1.8 million cruise passengers that come every year, right? They make up 80% of our overall passengers that come annually. They only spend $154 million. Those are the facts. 20%, the other 20% of the overall head count spends $889 million, and that's only 20%. Those are the facts. So if the government is going to engage in any initiative or conversation or negotiation in order to increase our portfolio from an economic standpoint, in order to increase the monies that are being made from our tourism product, we should be only looking at upgrading, increasing our stayover passengers, because they contribute the most with less people, less strain on our infrastructure, and a better quality experience. So the reality is, in that whole scenario about the cruise berthing.
But let me just ask you there. What you just said doesn't amount to that we have no need for cruise tourism.
No, and this is where it's misleading.
I wonder about that, because what I hear on these ads over and over again
are 100% wrong.
I don't know I have not heard any instance where anyone says we don't need cruise stories.
And what we need is a balanced tourism product. Oh. We need to ensure that we don't increase any sector of our tourism to the detriment of the other. More importantly, we understand the large congestion in our public areas now, such as the 7 Mile Beach and the Stingray City. We understand now that there is huge congestion, and it's becoming now where it's not a quality experience. So we have to tread very carefully on how we market our product, because if we go mass cruise, which is the indication from the government based on all of their initiatives and what they want to do with the berthing, then we're going to create a situation where the experience becomes undesirable, and then that will go through our stayover community, and then those numbers will dwindle. And so the real revenue that is being generated from tourism will start to be compromised and go in the opposite direction, because I can assure you, even if they increased cruise tourism by 600,000 to the 2.3, they're still not going to spend the 680 million that the stayover spend. So if we eliminated stayover by 10% and say we're only doing 10% out of the 20, and we increased the cruise passengers, it's gonna be to the detriment of our overall revenue generated from our tourism product entirely. So we have to be very careful. So when you hear talk about we need to put the port somewhere else, we do not need a cruise berthing facility, period, point blank. Our infrastructure, one, cannot accommodate. If we spend, and here I'll speak theoretically, but it is actually more facts to support my theory than it is to support their theory that we're going to make more money. If the government, and let's give them the benefit of the doubt, let's say they spend $190 million, in which they say is going to be the overall cost of this cruise berthing. And then if you look at the 2003 Mott MacDonald report that was done and summoned by our government, that state from the NRA, that even without a cruise berthing at that particular point, 2003, the government is now seeing strain on our infrastructure. Okay? When the government and the people of this country have to upgrade infrastructure, that is not a part of the business model when they're building the cruise berthing. That's totally separate and beyond the negotiations to build a cruise berthing. So if it's $109 million to build a cruise berthing, and then we got to spend $300 to $400 million on infrastructure upgrades, which is the sole cost of the Cayman Islands and its people, and you add that to the 190, you at $700 million. 400 million of which is our cost. The cruise ship don't have any responsibility on infrastructure upgrades. And nowhere in any of their business models or any of their offerings that I've read from 2000 when they were talking about cruise berthing, have they ever put anything in their model or their suggestion page that they would help with the cost of infrastructural upgrades to accommodate additional passengers on shore. Not one single suggestion in any of those reports. Now,
and along the lines, and stick a pin, I have also thought of the situation in Georgetown. Georgetown basically is that kind of circle around the post office across what used to be Wilco's, across the Legislative Assembly and back around the waterfront. Mm-hmm. How much is there now, or how much is there that would be increased for things for people to do? How much do we have to see? We have the Turtle Farm, of course, called the Stingray City, and the Queen Elizabeth Park, but that's pretty much it for Grand Cayman. So if you're going to increase the numbers so very much for persons, let's say cruise passengers, who don't have the leisure of being here 3, 4, 5 days and so on, just for those, what do they do? Does that not also add to the congestion or the, should I say, unhappiness about the visit?
Well, when you look at the infrastructure and all of the locations in which tourists participate in, you have a lot of different areas. However, when you look at the stayover passengers who are in the hotels or the condos or the timeshares or the Airbnbs, right? Mm-hmm. These individuals also want to visit Stingray City. They want to visit the Turtle Farm, the Dolphin Cove. They want to visit all of the local activity within the grasp of the Cayman Islands, right? A lot of them do diving.
They have time.
Right. And they have time to do so. A lot of the divers go to the eastern districts like the Moritz and the other locations because it's away from all the hustle and bustle, and that's where the best diving is. So you have those individuals who are here for the few days, a week, or even 2 weeks, who are not able to go to Stingray City during the week on a cruise ship day because it's already at capacity with cruise passengers. So when you try to balance our tourism product, and you have these issues where you are allowing mass crews to come in order to fill and overrun all of the existing tours and locations, it's going to be hard to create a balance with the two products, right, under the same banner. So it's important that we don't get this wrong, and it's imperative that whatever product that we formalize from our tourism sector, it has to have a proper balance, that no section of our tourism product is to the detriment of the other. And the myth around the local Iran ads about it's a myth that no cruise tourism is beneficial. No one never said that, like you said. And our biggest problem is, Gilbert, and I see it happening right now in another sector of our community, which I want to touch on because there's a lot of very concerned individuals who are listening to the show right now. We don't have any proper infrastructure planning going forward. Almost every industry in our country has been on a wing. We've been winging it all this time. That's why you see a lot of things have a lot of fundamental issues, because there was no proper structure put in place as to what we want to do, how we want to do it, who's going to participate doing it, and how we're going to get there. That's the problem. And with the cruise tourism, with the stayover tourism, with the cruise berthing, with the airport, all of those things play a fundamental part in how our tourism product is successful. If we wanted to increase our finances from tourism on a whole, we should be focused on extending the runway, increasing our capacity for stayover, making sure that sector of our tourism is thriving at its best with all the ability that we have. We have a unique situation in the Caribbean where we're not like all the other third world countries. And for whatever reason, the government is on a high road to make us become, and it goes back to Mr. Mark, some points that he made earlier about the cost and the government sponsored welfare, corporate welfare. It may sound like something that is not a reality, but it is a reality, and we need to continue to have dialogue and create an educational process so that people are aware of these things. One of the things that came to my attention, and this goes back to the lack of infrastructure and lack of protection for Caymanian businesses and entrepreneurs and the like. I was at an event last Saturday, and it was an event thrown by one of the brand marketers, one of the brand managers for one of the local liquor distributors. Obviously, I won't call any names because right. I'll just say it as vaguely as possible. So I was at an event that was thrown by one of the managers for a local distributor, right? Obviously, Mr. Gilbert, you've seen multiple flyers and posters and banners of multiple promotions over the past couple of years increase because social media has become a medium where people use as free advertisement to get people's attention and draw their interest to multiple events. Mm-hmm. Now, we have a bunch of local promoters who depend on this industry as a surplus to their day-to-day salaries, right? Mm-hmm. And they take huge risks because you and I both know that it's hard to convince. If you don't have proper promoting prior to your event in place, it's going to be hard for you to attract certain people to come to that event in order for it to be beneficial or even profitable, right? So the distributors play an essential role because they have all of the promotional materials, they have all of the power for consignment and all these things. But because of lack of structure has been put in place to protect these small industries, which people kind of don't pay attention to because they're not involved in that industry. So it becomes a thing where people don't talk about. But I'm here today to ensure those people that I'm not just one of those people who talk about one thing because because people accuse you of having an interest in these things, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not a promoter, and I don't, and I probably never will be a promoter. But I have friends who are in the business, who I went to school with, who I'm friends with. But the reality is, I went to this event. It was a properly ran. It was funded to the T. It was properly organized. The music kept tripping out, but at the end of the day, and then I started, and it made me realize. So I posted a commentary on my Facebook post, and it got huge attention, and it generated a lot of conversation, and to the point where, you know, we formed a group, and we already had a meeting the day after. But what was interesting about that, Mr. Gilbert, and I want to highlight it because I think it's important, because a lot of times people are stigmatized about certain issues, and they don't say it because, one, they don't want to be victimized. They don't want to be, because when I say victimized, you know, that's a broad stroke. You don't want to be socially victimized. You don't want to be economically victimized, financially victimized, or business victimized. So it's a stigma that people, like with everything, Cayman, they don't want to call in and talk about these things because they might get victimized. So what's interesting about that is that I had an opportunity to meet with these individuals and listen to all of their testimonials in terms of what their individual experience was with this particular manager at this particular distributor. And you know what, Gilbert? It's really unfortunate how he has taken advantage. So what he's essentially done, he is the brand marketing manager for a company that's supposed to listen to you as a promoter and say, okay, here's what I have to offer. Here's the price. Here's this. Give me a timeline. We'll put, and this has been going on since I was a kid, right? With these particular institutions that provide promotion items and stuff. And now what he has done is that when these promoters go to him, lay out what their plan is and what their ideas and what they need, he'll say yes, and then he'll lead them all the way to the well. And then when they get to the well, he pull the plug and say, oh, well, I just realized that I can't do it for these reasons. And then those persons already got money invested in ads, print media, radio media, and all these things. That money is at risk. And then they have to now, at the last minute, go to another distributor to try to get consignment for and promotional items. And then some of them even pull out and don't even do it at all. And then 6 months later, that same individual who is in charge of brand marketing and have access to all of this money is doing an exact same event in the same in the same theme and funded by the company in which he worked for. Now, there's a conflict there, because if you and I had done that,
of course,
or if we had done it in the private sector,
it's unethical.
So it's important that we bring that to the forefront, because these are the things that are happening. This is just one small pocket of our society. But you know what really blew my mind and really even made me more concerned is that after I made the post, on how many people it affects and said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I mean, I'm so happy that you said it. A lot of us didn't say it. We were thinking it, but we didn't say it because of the fear of victimization. And
there's a lot of that in our society, make no mistake about it. But you get a chance to talk about some more about that, but I understand we got two callers.
Of course.
Let's take those calls then. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gilbert. Good afternoon, Mario.
Good afternoon, sir.
I listening. I love this topic. I heard something early on the radio, and I wonder why somebody don't investigate into that, because I think we got the highest number of deaths from when people go snorkeling and stuff in the world, because I just heard on the radio today, Radio Cayman, that another older person had died while snorkeling in the North Sound. I don't know how much investigation goes into this, but I'm going to say something here. It wouldn't surprise me if you did a real investigation into these kinds of things, that somebody's knocking off these old people for insurance. That's the only thing I can figure, because I went online and I checked the Scuba Diving Society, the big, what do we call them? It does, all over the world. And they had something like 99 to 100 or something like that. It was that they had for the year, for the whole, that was reported to them for the whole year. And I remember, I've been talking about this since 2009, because I think in 2009, we had one of the highest rates of people dying out there snorkeling and scuba diving and stuff, any place in the world. And they had something like, I think at that time, was like 12 back in 2009, and one company in particular had more than half of them. And there are people that I've spoken to, and I can't call the name of that company. But that company has got a record, the highest record of any company where these people are dying out there when they're snorkeling. And I wonder why it is that before all of these so-called dive companies come in here and we give everybody a license, we don't check them properly, I don't think. That there was when Bob Soto and when all the people that used to do diving back in the day, they're back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and nobody, heard about nobody dying out there. And all of a sudden now I hear this one company. When I heard the number they had, something is wrong there. Because either they're bringing in people who don't know what they're doing, who get out there. And I spoke to a young Caymanian who's got a master's license. A young guy got a master's license in scuba diving. And he quit this company that I'm talking about because they had lost too many people. And I'm wondering if there's ever going to be an investigation into these companies when they hear these things happen instead of just saying natural death or something. I mean, it bothers me to no end.
Caller, you make some valid points, I think, about the area of scuba diving and those who have lost their lives while doing it. But normally, I think you hear of persons who are older, and the old thing of the heart attacks, and find that their heart is full of cholesterol and plaque and so on. I don't know if there's any way that it's possible to have them or to deny someone that wants to come and dive. I suppose the operators, I don't know, I suppose the operators get them to agree that they won't be responsible or whatever the case. I don't know if they let them sign anything and so on. But again, you said that a certain amount of people were reported to the scuba diving organization where you checked for the numbers and the statistics. Maybe that's what's reported, but not necessarily what has actually occurred. And you're basing it largely on what we do here, and you really do hear quite often of persons who go for a swim or dive and so on. One very prominent businessman here died the other day, I understand, while just out snorkeling, the heart attack. So these things do happen. But if you have a strange feeling that maybe something is not happening right in one of these organizations, you have some evidence or whatever of that, it couldn't hurt if you had a timely word with the police or something who could actually look into it, or someone in the Department of Tourism. I don't know if you thought of doing that.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is this, Gilbert, that number of occurrences in one little island, when you got places all over the world that people scuba dive, not only Cayman is not the only place that people scuba dive.
No.
And I never heard of any place, even in the Caribbean, the number of people that I've heard that go here. Because, first of all, if this never occurred until, say, for the late 1980s, well, not even the 1980s, but later on, to the 1990s, there's something wrong. And we get people coming in here who say they're qualified. They never dove in salt water. And this is the other thing. How many people are told where to get in that salt water? That if you're not used to diving in salt water and you get a mouth full of salt water, nose full of salt water, you panic. You panic in that water. I know what I'm telling you. Huh? And so these people are used to diving in fresh water and stuff to get a degree, or they get certification in cold water, in fresh water. There is got to be something that's going on that's wrong.
Well, you could be right, caller. It's something which we could talk about some more, but I'm going to ask you to leave us there because we do have another caller, I'm told, and it's something which, certainly hearing what you say, I'll make mention to someone who I think would be the correct source to perhaps have a look at it here in our island. Let's take the next caller, and then we got to go to a commercial break. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. I had a pain in my neck before, but since I've been holding on to this one, I got a worse one.
Sorry about that.
Forever. Did you see where the cruise ship went yesterday?
Yeah, you had two at Spots.
Yes, it went. I saw a huge one up at Spots.
What's wrong with Spots dock becoming the one that needs to have the berthing facilities instead of Georgetown, where they will destroy up all that coral and everything else and pull up the Balboa and destroy that and whatever else?
But I really believe that there has to be some improvement in Spots to assist some small projection out there as a wharf to make a difference. They can't leave it that way and expect thousands of people to stand in the sun. Like I saw them being corralled there. Was it? I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday.
It's just bad for our image. It's bad business.
You know. Also, what was interesting about yesterday is that on Tuesday it was beautiful, calm weather, and then on Wednesday they had to go to Spots.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you how quick the weather can change, whether you have a berthing facility or not.
Yeah.
But on another subject now, do you think we should continue destroying all of our good landmarks, such as the glass house?
Well, I pray that they
this
don't
is so ridiculous.
My answer on that is no.
I don't agree with that.
I am very biased about that. I believe that that's an iconic building opposite the radio station where we are. That is something that was the first type of building like that, I understand. And I do not believe the story that I'm hearing is that it's so unsafe and the engineer says. I do not believe it.
It's not true.
It is just like when they told me, I was then the Minister for Agriculture, that the pavilion out at Pedro was at Lower Valley. Oh, it's going to fall down. You got to take it down and so on. That was 14 years ago, and I don't believe the story here of this building. Government should use this building for the numerous needs that it has.
Well, the thing is, and not to hold you, caller, the thing is, Gilbert, is if you telling the country that we're capable of building a new building, but we're not capable of renovating an existing one.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Point.
And then we say we bought Scotia building for a new courthouse and we got a glass house. The money what you spent on that Scotia building, which you haven't disclosed yet, you could have renovated the glass house. These are the type of things that happen and go on the radar and nobody wants to talk about. Yeah. But we have to talk about these things.
Yes,
and I agree with you, caller. We should be preserving what our historical lens look like instead of destroying it.
Caller, I totally agree with you.
Worst of all, what they're saying is turn it into a park now. They just bought a piece of land behind the glass house and the Scranton Place. So why would they need another park right up in front there? That is a wrong place to put it right on the corner with all that traffic. We want the children to run up there and get killed.
What we call the glass house should be left alone and be used by government to house the numerous departments that spread out and around and the rental and so on. That can be. I know from the day that it was first entered into, I was around, I was a civil servant then, and the air conditioning always did give some problem. So rip it out and put in new air conditioning. But that building stood up to Hurricane Ivan, and it laughed at that 200 mile an hour hurricane.
It could be renovated easily. It's not something that can't be done. It's wrong what they're doing, and they know it too.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else you would like to say, caller?
Yes, that we have to stand up to it and see that building is preserved, because we are losing too many of our landmarks. And
Absolutely.
A lot of people come back here are complaining about it, and us that live here are complaining about it. And if we are going to revitalize Georgetown, the people that live in Georgetown and South Sound need to have their say, and not people out of town that, they want this, they want that, they got to close off the road. Well, when they close off the road, they can find out how that will work, because they want to stop all these cars coming here every week. And they need to tell us more about what they plan on closing off in Cool Road, because that's another one I'm ready for.
Okay, well, thank you very much, caller. I have to go to a break right now. Thank you very much for your thoughts on that, and certainly that caller raised an issue, and I am personally one, because I am John Citizen, like everybody else here, and the building across from us, it should not be destroyed.
No, they shouldn't be.
Maybe there are some people with other thoughts on it as well. So, to the man at the board there, I'm sorry I didn't take the break earlier, but you're giving me the signal. We're going to a break now. Are you listening to the talk today? We'll be right back after this break.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately.
And that's fine. We know you love it.
We just don't understand how you can afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu, starting at just $3.50, gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shudden Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value menu, the deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices. KFC, so good.
One TradeX knows there's more than one way to invest. One TradeX is the Cayman Islands' only fully licensed online broker-dealer, offering discount trading services to individual investors and traders, hedge fund managers, and family offices. One TradeX has the most competitive online trading prices of any offshore broker worldwide, with no custody or management fees, free demonstration accounts, and no charge to open an account with a $5,000 minimum deposit. Trade stocks, options, futures, bonds, and Forex. Learn more and open your free demo account today at OneTradeX.com. OneTradeX, the Cayman Islands' #1 choice for online brokerage. OneTradeX is licensed to conduct securities investment business by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority.
We're building resilience one pipeline at a time. For the past 35 years, the Water Authority has been working to build a reliable piped water distribution network to better serve you in both fair and stormy weather. Visit our website or follow us on social media for useful hurricane preparedness tips and important updates in the case of an extreme weather event. This hurricane preparedness tip is brought to you by Water Authority Cayman, suppliers of the world's most popular drink.
A visionary leader, an outstanding educator, and a man of standard.
Join the UCCI community as we celebrate the achievements of and bid farewell to President J.A. Roy Bodden, who is retiring after 9 years of dedicated service to the institution. Be a part of the historic event on Monday, December 3rd, 6 p.m. in the Sir Vassal Johnson Hall. Refreshments will be served.
A man of standard.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness,
I'm remodeling a
recreation,
bathroom. I
and
have a few
relaxation.
questions. What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's new kitchen and bath center.
Cayman National would like to invite you to their 16th annual Home for the Christmas event, Tuesday, December 4th at 6 p.m. at their Elgin Avenue location. Celebrate the meaning of Christmas and ring in the holiday season with charity donations and festive performances by UCCI Pandemics, the Cayman Arts Festival, and Dream Chasers Cayman. Light refreshments will be served. Join Cayman National as they bring the community together this December 4th at 6 p.m. for the Home for the Christmas event.
South Coast Bar and Grill up in Breakers, man, that is the place. For traditional Cayman cuisine, oh, you will love the taste. At South Coast Bar and Grill, we got conch and lobster and turtle stew. And every Sunday come out with your family for the barbecue.
South Coast Bar and Grill by the seaside, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, lunch and dinner. Call us at 947-2517.
For Cayman and cuisine, the talk today is South Coast Bar and Grill.
To facilitate late-night shoppers, the linen and electrical departments and the bathroom palace at International Lighting, Ed's Plaza, North Songway will open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday until December 15th and open late until 10 p.m. through December 24th. Spend $25 in-store and drop your name in the box because 3 Cayman Airways tickets to any of Carl's destination are up for grabs. Drawing will take place on December 21st. International Lighting, Ed's Plaza, North Songway, telephone 949-5141. You can also check them out on Fridays and Saturdays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the entrance of the Buntown Church of God Chapel for loads of discounted items. Merry Christmas from International Lighting.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. Your host, Gilbert McClean, sitting in for Sterling Ebanks. And I understand we got a lineup of 3 callers, so let's take those calls. Callers, I'm going to ask you if you can just sum it up and come to the point. We have a fair amount of limited amount of time right now, so let's take the first caller. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. McClean, and good afternoon, Mr. Mario.
Good afternoon.
This is Ezra Miller. I can't help but call because your caller earlier raised the issue of the glass house.
Yes.
The government has been in possession of a proposal from McAlpine convert the glass house to 4,000 square feet of modern office space for $15 million. And they have done nothing about it.
Wow.
It would make a perfect. It would certainly make a better courthouse than Scotiabank building. And the government doesn't know how to put any money up front. There would be a rattle back to pay back the cost of fixing up the building.
Remarkable.
And that includes moving the elevators to the front of the building with a complete new facade on the front of the building. And we need a police station. Perfect for that.
Yeah.
To talk about knocking it down to give it to DART to put up a park is preposterous.
Not going to happen.
Well, Mr. Miller, I am so glad that you took the time to call in. I didn't know about what you just said, but I know when you make a statement like that, you have proof that you can show that that is the case. And the glass house, you remember, like I do, that was one of the few buildings in Georgetown that wasn't affected by Hurricane Ivan.
And it was offered no protection. The government of
that
the
is true.
Hurricane Ivan would blow the windows out of it.
Yeah, but it didn't happen.
Yes, that is true.
I have given a copy of the proposal to the chief of police. I have given a copy of the proposal to the deputy governor. Right? I have given a copy of the proposal to Austin Harris to take it to caucus.
That useless.
Nothing has been said about it for months.
It is now out in the open. That's good. That's good. I totally agree with you, sir. There's no question. That building is an iconic building. It can be kept for...
It would make a perfect one-stop financial center for the country. Yeah. It would make a perfect museum for the country. Because the museum we have now is far too small.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's ridiculous. Because they only condemned it, in order to get the public support for the new government administration building. There was no real reason to condemn it in the first place.
Yes.
Right.
Because McAlpine, in their proposal, said there's nothing wrong with the structure of the building.
I believe that.
Well.
But the public needs to know.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Mr. Miller. They do know now. They do know now. Thank you very much for taking the time to call. Thank you. Well, there it is now. John Public.
It's ironic. I
listen.
I just said it to you during the break. I said I'm aware of a McAlpine proposal to renovate the building, and I'm glad Mr. Miller called in and said it because
I am glad. Now it's out there. It's no longer quiet or in the dark. There are two more callers, I understand. So let's go to the next caller. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gilbert.
Good afternoon, Miss Georgette.
And good afternoon to Mr. Mario, and I hope both of you and all your family members are well.
Yes, thank you.
I'll be very as brief as possible. About a year ago, maybe, somebody suggested, or I think it was over Radio Cayman, to why not put a little awning type up by spots, something that could be put up and removed quickly, so that those poor people, whenever a ship has to go up to spot, they don't have to stand in the sun and the rain.
It's important.
And a few other little finishing touches up there would help too. And I think that, or I thought at the moment that person had a wonderful idea, and I hope maybe it might be put forth for any time when a ship has to go up there. Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you for calling.
God bless you and all your family, and you too, Mr. Mario.
You too, Mom. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Georgette. I do appreciate your call. She's right. You know, like you go in the banks and even in the airport, they have these cords, I call them. I forget there's a correct name for them. That just to be able to handle all the thousands that come off those boats, they or those ships, they could have a rooftop and with uprights, and along each one on both sides just benches where people, instead of standing in the sun, could actually sit, and they'd be covered because there's a rooftop above them. Even that would make a difference. I personally, as a citizen of this country, I've seen people there, and you can see they're sweating. You can see they're exhausted, and I'm thinking, all of the talk that we talk about this, and we got so much money, and this and that, and the next thing, and so on, and we can't do something as simple as that because it doesn't cost millions.
Well, it almost seems deliberate that they don't do anything simpler so it can justify them billing a cruise pair.
I tend to agree with you, but let's take the last caller here. Okay. If we should have one other call there. Caller, please go ahead. You're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Mario, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
What is the purpose of the MLAs? Can you tell me? I don't think we need some of them, because I tell you, all they're doing is taking home a big fat paycheck and doing nothing. That is why so many Caymanians have to go to needs assessment to get help. Mm-hmm. You know, all you can hear, Caymanians are lazy. Can you tell me why so many smart Caymanians are out of jobs?
Oh, I can tell you.
And all you can hear are overqualified. If I were doing the interview, I would be glad to get someone that is overqualified to do my job.
Well, if there's such a thing as overqualified.
Well, it depends on who doing the interview. Because if the person doing the interview is fearful of the person they're interviewing of taking their job, they're going to say that you're overqualified just to make sure that you don't get in position to take their job.
But yet, people that are not even have a high school education are getting jobs from the top. Can you tell me why these people are giving these people that don't have a college education or don't have a high school education the top jobs? And the top jobs are given from government and people that have the last say. I definitely know that for a fact. Mm-hmm. And I think all of this, you know, they're just pulling down, like Mr. Reed from the Port Authority. Check the rest out. They need to pull them down too. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. She has raised interesting questions as well. And you were about to say, Mario, with regards to the spots dock.
Well, yeah, with regard to the spots dock, when we look at it, it has a big posted sign out there that has been put there by the Port Authority that says Cruise Terminal, Spots Cruise Terminal.
Yeah.
and it's the furthest thing away from a cruise terminal that we could even imagine.
Oh, it has.
The reality is that it's really mind-boggling that the minister can go out there and advocate for cruise berthing facility to enhance and upgrade the experience when you have a port. When you have a port that you can go and spend some money on right now as it sits to enhance and upgrade that experience, because like I said earlier, on Tuesday the weather was beautiful. I even talked about going fishing on Wednesday until I woke up Wednesday morning and realized that we had a mini Ivan.
Yeah.
And I got up and I realized that driving down spots, boom, you had 2 ships at spots, and then later on in the day when the wind shifted a bit, you had 2 ships in Georgetown. The reality is, Mr. Gilbert, is that the government is not interested in doing anything at spots because they have set their sights on Georgetown for their own personal reasons and for their own personal agendas. That is the reality. We see it. It's the writing is on the wall. It's just for us to read it, interpret it, and understand what it means. We as a people have to do exactly what our forefathers did, Mr. Gilbert. They saw the importance to protect our environment. They knew what it would become in the future. They know that it would be one of the things the only thing we have to hold on. I want to emphasize something very clearly that a lot of people in the Cayman Islands don't understand, including to those who support the port in Georgetown, the cruise pier. Before any other thing took place in this country, from a pillar standpoint in our economy, we've had tourism. Tourism belonged to us. No one brought it here in a plane. No one brought it here in a boat. No one brought it here in a bag or a box. Our tourism product belongs to us, the people of this country. And what makes our tourism product desirable is our pristine, crime-free environment. If we do not see the importance of protecting that, when all other things that has came on board after, like the financial industry and all the other things, service industry, if those things go away, our environment and our crime-free jurisdiction will remain, and the people of this country will remain the guardians of that.
You're right.
So how is it today that we are conceivably talking about destroying or gambling or taking the risk to diminish that one thing that we own, that we didn't have to pay for? We paid $0 for the Cayman Islands. $0. We have used it to maximize our financial benefits, and here we are today having a conversation whether we should build a cruise pier that would put the entire cruise tourism product at jeopardy because we want to get an extra $17 a head for an extra couple 100,000 people so that they can crowd our infrastructure and water down our experience of our overall product. This is got to be the most backways approach I've ever seen of any government in my entire life. But you know why it's probably like that, Gilbert? Because we heard for the last 15 years how bad each party was from each party, right?
Oh, yes.
But here's the irony to that. Here's the kicker to that. Now they all one in the same. So, boy, if it were bad then, that means it's 1,000 times worse because now they've combined their bad efforts and become one. So why are we talking about gambling away the one thing that we have that is Caymanian, that is ours, that we didn't have to pay for? What we should be looking at, Gilbert, what we should be looking at is how do we maximize the participation and the spreading of wealth that comes with that sector of our economy. We should be ensuring that if we talking to the cruise lines about participating with a private public partnership, one, the cruise ship needs to understand that they need us, we don't need them. They got called to our port, we don't have to call to their port. Right? Mm-hmm. That's one thing we need to distinguish. We put that up front. Secondly, we need to let the cruise lines also know is that we have X amount of people that's in the cruise tourism industry, in the hospitality industry. All of those people that have cruise operating licenses in this country have to be in control of the price points in which those tours cost. You cannot have the cruise ship creating division amongst our tour operators, which is what they've done. Sure. So what they've done is give pre-existing contract to the lead along, follow along tour operators to say, hey, if you guys work by our rules and our guidelines and our margins, we'll give you pre-existing contracts so you don't have to worry about hustling and bustling outside the minifalment we got down there right now. If we the government want to do something in the best interest of our tour operators to ensure that they all have a fair shot at what money is to be made from cruise tourism or tourism on a whole, they would say, guys, look, and I'm talking when I say guys, the cruise lines, we, the people of the Cayman Islands, have made a decision consciously that all of our tour operators are now part of a union, and here is the price for this tour, and that tour. And these are the prices that you have to pay them in order to participate on our shore. Now, you have those people who will say, well, Mario, what happens if they don't agree? Well, if they don't agree, then they don't agree, because you have multiple cruise lines that wants to call to our port. One of the things that were interesting, Mr. Gilbert, that stuck out to me in that 2013 Mott McDonald report, it stated by them, because they did an assessment with all the cruise lines in order to give a proper report as to what the feeling was in that industry. You know what stuck out in that really blew my mind?
What was it?
The cruise lines, a lot of the cruise lines expressed that, look, if you go ahead and you build a cruise berthing facility that can only accommodate 2 ships, that they would feel disenfranchised or they would feel left out if they can't park on a cruise berthing, and that they would probably pass our port by because they are not allowed to park on the cruise berthing because there's not sufficient space. So they felt like they would be at a disadvantage to getting their people to shore in the same time frame in which those that was calling off the pier. Mm-hmm. So they felt like they would probably just move along to another jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. Now think about that for a second. One of the base arguments that the government have as to why we should build the pier is that so we don't lose cruise passengers that are passing us by every day. Mm-hmm. Now here you have a consulting report paid for by the government, right? That's saying
we got to take a break at this time and go to the 2:00 news. We'll continue our discussion right after the news. Please stay tuned. You're listening to Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
In the lead up to World AIDS Day, the Health Service Authority, in partnership with the Red Cross, has been offering many opportunities for people to get tested for HIV and AIDS. Carolina Ferreira with the Red Cross says activities this week has been designed to raise awareness of the illness and available resources while empowering people with information they can use to protect themselves. This Saturday is World AIDS Day, and free testing will be available at the 7 Mile Medical Center throughout the morning. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines in News Elsewhere. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has put the blame for the recent naval confrontation between Ukraine and Russia off Crimea squarely on Moscow. She said it was entirely the doing of Russian President Vladimir Putin and promised to raise the issue with him. On Sunday, Russia fired on Ukrainian ships sailing towards the Sea of Azov, which is shared between the two countries, and seized their crews. An imprisoned murderer is being investigated after confessing to 90 killings across 4 decades in the U.S. The FBI believe Samuel Little, who is 78 years old, may be among the most prolific serial killers in U.S. criminal history. State and federal agencies are now working to match his confessions with the deaths of dozens of women across the country from 1970 to 2005. And the U.S. Coast Guard returned 74 Dominican migrants to law enforcement authorities in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. This took place on Tuesday night following the at-sea interdictions of 4 migrant vessels off Puerto Rico. The interdictions were a result of ongoing efforts in support of Operation Unified Resolve, Operation Caribbean Guard, and the Caribbean Border Interagency Group. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
This Christmas, Kirk Freeport is wishing everyone peace, love, joy, and $40,000 in prizes. Win one of the multiple $5,000 and $1,000 cash prizes just for shopping at your favorite Kirk Freeport store. Purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. There's even a Rolex watch prize draw on January 2nd and loads of other great prizes. Peace, love, joy, and the island's biggest Christmas sweepstakes. Only from Kirk Freeport. Full details on kirkfreeport.com. Merry Christmas from Kirk Freeport.
Advance Automotive Chevrolet is celebrating their 10th birthday by giving away $10,000 to one lucky person who buys a brand new Chevrolet. Not buying a new car this year? Well then, why not be one of 10 people who could win free gas for a year? Book any service with Advance Automotive before December 19th to enter. And remember, Advance Automotive can service any make of vehicle so everyone can enter. Visit AdvanceChevrolet.com for more details or call 945-9191 to book your service today. Terms and conditions apply.
For more than 30 years, Rotary Central has worked along with our business community, business advisors, media, and schools, introducing over 500 students annually to the universe of business. Students are guided to create, operate, and deliver products to market. Today, thousands of Caymanian business professionals point to junior achievement as their introduction to business. When you support Rotary Central fundraisers like the Music Extravaganza, you support Cayman's next generation of business professionals. High schoolers learn human resources, sales, marketing, accounting, compliance, legal skills, manufacturing. Cayman's next generation business professionals find purpose and get inspiration through Rotary Central Junior Achievement programs. Junior Achievement, another inspiration project by Rotary Central.
Having a party at the beach or a team building exercise at the park? Reserving your cabana is easy with the Public Works Department online booking system. Create your account and use the online calendar to pick your desired date and facility. You can even pick the cabana you want to use. Look for your confirmation email, print it off, and bring it with you as proof of reservation. Enjoying our natural environment has never been so easy. Visit www.eservices.gov.ky to book your cabana today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Gilbert McClean, sitting in for Sterling Ebanks, and we've been having a very interesting discussion so far with Mr. Mario Rankin, and of course we've been very active on the telephone as well. Our listeners calling in and sharing their views. Mario, you were speaking about the situation of what.
The cruise, the other cruise lines that were
yes
about the Mark McDonald report.
Right, the report.
Yeah,
yes.
Right before the break, I was just getting ready to just finish off the points that was made in that report in terms of other ships that wouldn't have been able to dock at the cruise berthing, because if Royal Caribbean and Carnival goes into partnership with the government to build it, they have preference, and they are the two lines that are building mega ships currently, and it's important that I highlight that at the September 26th meeting, they made it very, very, very clear that our cruise market is not at jeopardy, and that I heard that. Yeah, and that in no way not having a cruise pair is going to affect our local market. So I just want to put that out there, because a lot of people is under the misinformed impression that that's the case. If we don't build a cruise pair, we won't have cruise tourism. That's not true. 100,000% wrong. So what they said in that report was basically is that their findings is that they spoke to all of the cruise lines, not just Carnival and Royal, and that from the information gathered from those consultations were that they were in the idea that unless they built a cruise berthing facility that could accommodate all ships that called to our port at any one time, that those who weren't allowed to park on that cruise berthing would have moved on to other locations simply because they would have been at a disadvantage, right?
That seems pretty,
and that seems reasonable.
Rational.
From the cruise ship standpoint,
yes.
I would be the same. I would be like, well, if I can't park on the cruise berth, then why should I tender you on the berth? And I'm at a disadvantage, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So it was interesting that part of the report has never been highlighted on any occasion by the ministry, the government, or anybody who's pushing ProPort. But it's important that we understand that even with the pair comes complications, comes with issues in terms of other ships calling to our port. Remember now, 60% of global revenue generated in the cruise industry comes from the Caribbean. So 60% of all money generated for all cruise lines globally comes from the Caribbean. So then one would have to be really gullible to think that they're not going to call to one of the most desired destinations in the Caribbean basin simply because they can't park on a pier. Mm-hmm. We know that that's not true. Mm-hmm. MSC has a new ship coming out in 2019 that will tender to Cayman, that will be holding 6,000 passengers, which is the same size as the mega ships. So I just want the Cayman Islands and all the people to understand is that our cruise industry is not at jeopardy if we don't build a cruise pier. We need to create a better experience, to your point earlier about people standing up in the sun. We need to upgrade the spots dock. Put proper covered facility.
No question.
We need to move the cargo port from Georgetown, and I don't care what nobody says. It has to be done. You can't have two of those coexisting because that's what's creating a lot of our issues right now. Because you can't revitalize Georgetown properly if you got cement trucks and dump trucks and cargo trucks and container trucks running at night, 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. Georgetown cannot be revitalized with that type of industrial activity. We have to put it in the North Sound where the CDC warehouse is 1 minute away from down by back of there's a spot there. All of those dredge canals that the government have allowed to put in all these subdivisions, you connect all those up. Our cargo ships don't draw nearly as much water as the cruise ship. In fact, it's almost not even worth mentioning. They don't draw a pilot because those cargo ships come straight up to our dock right there in Georgetown right now. You connect those, you separate the two, you tear down that old Port Authority building, you tear down all that stuff that out there, you put proper covered waiting areas, proper bathroom facility, you put some steel band out there, you take that fence down at Royal Watler and you let our craft market get out there, because for the life of me, I don't know why our craft market is all the way to the south end of our entire Georgetown, where all our local people depend on the activity of the cruise ship, which they're not getting the volumes that they need. Why is the craft market not on the Royal Watler terminal? It's not that big of an area. Again, that's a whole nother conversation. But these are the things, these are the fundamental breakdowns that we see, but nobody's doing. And these things, Gilbert, now if you were the Minister for Tourism, you would go in tomorrow, call a cabinet meeting and say, listen, we're going to move the craft market to the Royal Watler. End of story. Let me know the timeline on how it's going to be done.
Of course.
And let's move forward. End of story. But why are we not having that? You know why? Because there are special interest groups who pay for certain campaigns, who make sure that those things don't take place. We got a candy shop. We sell candies on the Royal Watler. When we go to a craft market, artists like I know Franklin Manderson, who's an artist, went to school with me. One of the most brilliant artists you'll ever find. He got a table at the craft market. Why that man not on the Royal Watler Pier?
Yeah.
So these are the questions we got asked. Yes. People don't like to hear them, but this is the truth.
Yes, but those are the things that will make a difference. I mean, those are the questions that need to be asked. Something else that I was thinking about as I drove down this earlier today. Our port, I heard someone one day calling in on the issue about the port and so on, and this person was definitely an advocate for having the port, as if the world was coming to an end if that didn't happen. And he made the remark, who ever heard of people scuba diving in the port? But there was another side to that I think the person missed. How many ports in the world that are pristine enough that people can dive in them? And I was thinking we are not like other countries that have rivers, and the rivers, of course, eventually is going to drain into the sea and take all the debris and mud and so on. We don't even, in our drainage system here on this island, we don't even drain it into the sea.
Well,
and we have taken those steps to ensure that we keep our water there as pristine as possible and so on. And this person was saying, well, who ever heard of people diving in a port? I never heard of it anywhere else, but we can do it, and it is happening here. Do you want to destroy that?
It's really ironic and actually hypocritical that they would make that comment. But I'll go a step further, Alex. I'll go a step further. Now, think about this. Same persons who are supporting the port is arguing, well, this 2018, why we don't have a cruise pier and blah, blah, blah. And I said, have we ever had a cruise pier? Well, no. I said, well, have we ever done it that it saw that it worked and then we stopped doing it? I said, you guys are sitting here telling me that you have successful businesses right now and you don't have a cruise pier. So for the last 50 years that we've been having cruise ships come into our port, we didn't have a pier. Everybody's doing well. But so tell me why again you want to build a pier? Why? You want to increase your bottom line? I mean, you obviously been in the business for 30 years. You something must be going right. So, we're so quick to send down our moral lens and vision of who we are simply because we're trying to get more money in our pockets. Okay. And I'm not saying a person shouldn't want to make more money in their business. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be selling our children to do it. Because if we had to make a choice right now, Gilbert, if somebody call you and say, Gilbert, I want to buy one of your children's finger. Now your child got 10 of them,
Yeah.
One won't kill him, but there's no price that you put on that finger.
That's right.
Because there's no replacement value you can put on that.
Yeah.
Georgetown Harbor, you build a port, and you get it wrong, and it don't work, and the cruise ships decide to pull out, which they've pulled out of jurisdictions many times that they made build ports. Go to Alabama, you'll see it. They used the port one time, and it was for medical reasons. Made them spent $200-something million, the city of Alabama, and now they don't use the port. They call to Fort Lauderdale. These are things that are sitting there for people to go and research and understand. And for those who don't want to, I'll say it. So, we talk about building a port alternatively or somewhere else. We cannot accommodate more people than we currently have. We need to strike a balance, say, okay, this is the most people we can accommodate, and give them the best experience possible.
And it was that way one time,
And that's what, yes.
The Department of Tourism was the one, in effect, who regulated it, and bit along, of course, with the Port Authority.
Right.
At one time, it was 3. Mm-hmm. 3 cruise ships was allowed one time because that is the number that was felt at that time that could be accommodated. Now, the other day, like I said, was 6, and believe me, Georgetown was a different place.
Right, and who's gauging and monitoring and managing that now? Did they take that law out of place? Is the law still there? And we're not enforcing it.
Yeah,
you see, it's really weird how we have these open dialogues and conversation, but yet when we look back at the not so distant past, we see where Cayman was thriving just as well as we're doing now. Yeah. If the government had taken every initiative to enhance the current situation, to upgrade and ensure that is a better quality experience, you wouldn't have to drive across spots and see those people out in the boiling sun, Because the government would have done everything. I mean, we look at things like, look at the Ombudsman office. Look at the money they spent to renovate that and do all these things. They could have taken that money and spent it up at spots. We see so much mismanagement of funds, but yet we want to increase the bottom line so we can mismanage more. The government ain't doing a good job managing what we got now.
So add to it, it's not likely to improve.
And one last thing on that before you go to you. Is it break?
We got a two
caller?
callers. Yeah.
Okay, well, one last thing. If we are not doing, whatever we're doing is not benefiting everybody in Cayman, we shouldn't be doing it at all.
I think you're right with that, for sure. I understand that we have 2 callers, so let's take the first caller. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yes, well, after that port is built, whenever we have a serious nor'wester or a storm or a hurricane, it's going to cause some serious damage in Georgetown.
Agreed.
And the owners of those buildings and insurance companies should have more say in this than what they're doing. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's something for the businesses there to think about.
And you know what happens when insurance got paid big dollars? Premiums go up for everybody, not just them.
For sure. Let's take the next caller. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Mr. Gilbert and Mario. I had a call back when you were talking about the sports dock. I used to work up at one point in time, I'm not throwing no stones because I might have to go back there one day. But I have seen so many accidents up there with visitors pushing a wheelchair, elder people falling down, and so forth. And like you say, in the hot, broiling sun, which we do have downtown Georgetown as well too. But I think Spot is the most lowest degree spot to take our visitors when they come to our island. And I feel like a lot more could be done up there at Spot, and it's not being done. And you know, people come on and talk about how cruise ship passengers don't want to come off because they got to come off on a tender and yakety yak. But if they think that tenders are terrible, they need to go up to Spot. They need to go to Spot Stock and watch the visitors when they're just struggling to get back on and off. And trying to walk and all that rocky dirt up there, plus stumps from the wheat willow trees up there and so forth. Yeah. I've been complaining about this for years before we even talk about this referendum.
It's really bad.
And the sign they got is thinking about Spot terminal, that is a disgrace to the public and to the human race. I thank you guys.
Thank you too. I mean, she's all right. I've seen it. I've spoken to persons. I've raised it when I had the opportunity. I was in government and so on. It is illogical. It doesn't make sense not to create a better situation at Spots, because we know every year there's going to be Northwesters. The ships can't stay in Georgetown, and they got to go to Spots. That's because it's calm waters there, or the waters are calm there. Yeah. And why all of this time just talk and oh, well, it's going to cost so many millions and so on. Good heavens, put down some pylons and take a wharf out there that just simply makes it easier for people to get off. And for heaven's sake, create some roof, some covering that the thousands of people don't stand in the sun and fry.
It's so simple to do, and it's just so hard to get it across them to get it done. It's actually one of those things that you just leave at awe, and you can't really comprehend the thought process as to why. And then we see them making all of these strides towards drilling up here because of these other reasons. And then when we mitigate those reasons and then the real questions are brought to the forefront, then there's a lot of backpedaling. If the government had so much confidence in this project, they would have revealed every single aspect of it. Like I said earlier, we have a national issue on our hand. This petition will get the numbers. I'm very confident in that.
And hopefully the people who can sign will sign and continue to sign as quickly as is possible to get their rights. They talk about rights. It's a right, so the right of petition.
That's right. And this exercise has revealed the thousands of people who are concerned about this particular issue and who have come out and put their name on this petition so that we can trigger a referendum that is our right. So it's funny how everybody talk about and criticize, yet we are only exercising our right by way of Constitution. And I hope the Cayman Islands people understand that this petition is the only line of defense that we have towards the government making a bad decision for the wrong reasons. There's nothing else in this country that we could do that could get the attention necessary in order for us to be heard and have our say in this particular topic. This is it. We need to all Caymanians who are registered to vote, who is concerned about the future of Cayman, whether you are on whatever political side, you have to sign this petition, because it's the only thing that we have that we can actually get the information necessary, make an informed decision as to whether we need it or want to see it or not. We have nothing else. There's no other instrument out there that allows us to have this level of autonomy so that we can have a say. The Constitution is it. That's where the buck stops. So we have to participate. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that what our forefathers saw was important, that we see equally as important, so that generations to come could have an opportunity to call our environment their own. It's our tourism product. The report you gave me a couple of months back, which I'm very grateful to, and I refer to it on many occasions with many conversations, the first paragraph on the first page highlighted that 50% of our energy is being burnt because of the tourism industry. And you know what? You know how many people were coming here on a cruise back then? In 1979?
There were but a few.
You know how many people, Gilbert? I even afraid to say the number.
How many?
1979, for the year of 1979, the Cayman Islands had 179 people.
Incredible.
All right? That came here.
Incredible.
No. In the grand scheme of things, we didn't take any of those recommendations in that report. Not 1 out of 25.
And they are relevant right up until today.
And if
this
we
moment.
had taken 2 recommendations out of that report, Cayman in energy sector would be different, and Cayman cost of living would be different.
Yeah.
Caymanians then would have had an opportunity to live in an environment that was affordable to them, and they would have still been able to participate in the mortgage schemes that have taken place, which they have been now kicked out of because they wasn't able to make enough money to maintain their mortgages. We look at the mortgage situation where only Caymanians are losing homes. We have a lot of fundamental issues in this country.
We do.
And we need to sort them out. And people need to stop and move away from the stigma that you're not allowed to talk about these things. We're not troublemakers. We're concerned people. We need to see a better Cayman. It has to be sustainable for us all.
Absolutely.
If something happened to jeopardize the financial industry, Gilbert, we see the government do backflips.
Yeah.
Overnight, they put something in place in order to ensure that we maintain our position in that queue. But now we see people losing their home for the last 10 years. We see cost of living increasing every year, and the government has done nothing to mitigate those things, and Caymanians are suffering because of it, and we must sit down and allow it. 2 minutes smart, educated Caymanians have now gone abroad, got tertiary education. They're back now in this environment, and this whole thing about Caymanians lazy, that is something that was strategically designed. We have the NWDA, who have a list of people who are unemployed. 90% of them are unemployable. So whenever those people are rotated into the workforce and they don't do what they're supposed to do, then we're labeled that, oh well, I gave Caymanians a chance, but they're too lazy. They work for 2 weeks and don't show up. Well, how in the world you're gonna take out of a harvest stock of people who are unemployable and expect them to produce? Did we have to create a system for them too as well? But the people in which I'm speaking about is those who've gotten their education, who have the ambition, who have the creativity to apply themselves, who have been marginalized in the workforce because we've allowed these institutions to get rich off of cheap labor. There's a lot of institutions in this country that need to be held accountable. All those security companies that you see up at the airport and all these other places and all these supermarkets and all these places that employ vast amount of cheap labor and have grown their wealth to the point where Caymanians are now suffering. We got to put a stop to that and make no apology about it. You know why? We got to put laws in place. Here what happened. This, and this, Caymanian only. If you don't like it, we're not telling you must like it. We're just telling you need to get used to it. You need to make adjustments to it. Because we go to places like Bermuda, you can't even buy a car. We talk 4,000 cars were imported in this country last year, Gilbert. 4,000. Okay? We got more cars than Caymanians.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with our road system, Our road system is flawless. You know what's wrong with our road system? We allow everybody on a work permit to get a car. We allow everybody who come here to get a car. And we got all these people who get learners and driver's license who we never seen inside a car in their life. And they clog up our roads. That's the problem we have in this country. But the government can't do nothing because they're so dependent on that, on those service dollars and licensing dollars and do-this dollars, that they have to continue to let that wound bleed because they need that revenue. We have done a disgraceful job on managing our resources and understanding where our priorities should be: education and work, health and welfare is where we should be focused.
The service to ourselves. By the way, Marius, someone has called and asked when will you be, where will you be doing the
petition?
Signing of the petition again?
Okay, well, we have books at all 4 locations at Foster's. We have a book at Savannah Gas Station. We have one at Four Winds West Bay Gas Station. We be at Hurley's every Saturday, every Monday, and every Wednesday. We be at Book Nook on Saturdays. What we do is we put out where we're going to be on all. Well, Hurley's is our home port. That's where we is every single Saturday, every Wednesday, and every Monday. They can find us there. And in the event that you can't find us at any location on a Saturday, you can go to any of the Foster's location to customer service. They have a book: Savannah Gas Station, Four Winds West Bay, Bliss Yoga, Sunset House, Catholic Churches, Pure Art Gallery. Those are all the stationary locations that have books on a regular basis, and you can go there at any point and sign it. And then we have our web page, CPR on Facebook. You can go on there and see all our updates, and we have an Instagram page as well. So there's a lot of areas in which you can go and participate and sign, and we put out updates on a regular basis. So, hopefully it'll get enough attention where people can, where we are at all times. They can come in and sign. Plus, we have people who go in door to door now, and we're doing a little bit of phone banking. So we're reaching pockets of people that we weren't able to reach, who are not able to come out on Saturdays and come to some of the locations in which we have books. But and one last plug, and
please go ahead.
327-5411. 327-5411. If you need us to come to you, we can come to you with a petition book and have a conversation and help you understand what it's all about, and you have an opportunity to sign.
That number again
is 327-5411.
5411. And just before we sign off, I want to remind our listeners what Mr. Ezard Miller, MLA Ezard Miller, the leader of the opposition, said, that there is a proposal by which of the companies McAlpine for $15 million to completely renovate what we call the glass house just across from us here. And for those people who believe that we should have the glass house, which is ours, which has been built years ago and which is still good and can be used, I encourage you to speak up and speak out on this issue. That's for another time, because we've basically come to the end of the time. And I want to thank you, Mr. Rankin, for being here. There has been, I think, a very useful discussion on various topics. And if I am around again at some time in the future,
you're calling me.
Yes, I would love to be able to talk with you, and otherwise than on the air, I certainly will. Thank you once again, and thanks to our listeners, thanks to our callers. Tomorrow there will again be Talk Today at 12:15. So I invite you and encourage you to listen and to call in and express your views as to what's happening. I'm your host, Gilbert McClean, and wishing you a very enjoyable rest of your day.